So as I'm pressing the bow here, a couple of things that I like to look for with this last chance press. These fingers independently move. So before I press the bow all the way, I get it to a point where it's just in there and it's holding the bow. And then I like to go around and I like to make sure that all of these are about the same amount of tension. These thumb dials here bring these fingers in and out, so it's really important that the bow's under the same amount of tension, the limbs. So I'm making sure these are all about the same. And then once that's done, once you've done a bow, once you've done that once for the bow, you're pretty much done. Okay, so everything is looking good. Actually, when I tie the D loop, I'm actually going to back out to the point where it's just holding the bow steady like that. I don't get too into the arrow level or the making sure that I don't pull out an arrow square and make sure that it's perfectly plumb. I take a slightly different approach. So I get the bow hanging mostly vertical I get the bow sitting pretty horizontal, and the arrow is now plumb to that, just based off of gravity. And then I'll eyeball it. You can come around here for that. So what I'm going to do here is with the bow horizontal, I'm going to position the arrow such that it's more or less vertical, passing through the burger hole, which is behind this RX7 logo. So about there. Again, this doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, so what I like to do, this is like my one of my best friends in the archery shop, silver Sharpie. I use this all over the place, so it's really good to have these available. Western Hunter's probably looking at getting a silver Sharpie sponsorship.
Yeah, we're trying to get Sharpie right now.
Yeah. We got a bowling ball sponsor.
Yeah, we're working on the bowling ball sponsorship and a Sharpie, and actually we're going to try to get Pilot to do pens.
Pens,
too.
yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. We already got the tree sponsor. These are from Oregon.
Home Depot supplied the. Yeah, so we should be getting a lot more great content from Sharpie, Pilot, bowling ball manufacturers in the magazine. So I like to mark where that's sitting. Just I'm going to take the arrow off and tie a D loop on. So that's what the silver Sharpie is here. Just marking where that knock is, that more or less is a good vertical knocking position for the arrow being perpendicular to the string. So this is the D-loop material that I like. This is BCY number 24. Actually, I do prefer a brighter color here. The dye makes it a little bit more rigid than your regular like black or other color. I really like the orange. I'm into orange. So Brody's going to get an orange D-loop. We'll have to get an exact measurement on this, but I like to burn my D-loop with pretty big knots on the end. But that's I don't know this exact size, but we'll figure it out and get it in the notes. That's kind of the exact size that I start with, and then I burn from there. It produces what I consider a fairly normal, maybe a touch short D-loop, but it's worked well for me. So burning the knots in, what I like to do is take the razor blade. These are your two best friends. We need to get a razor blade sponsor.
Yeah, who makes those?
Probably. I don't know who makes this one.
Cobalt or
maybe it's
Stanley. Stanley makes these.
There you go. I was thinking maybe we could get the Home Depot brand. What's that one called?
Ooh, that's not Cobalt. That's Lowe's.
Anyway, you take the dull side of the razor blade and you just start pushing down into the cut D-loop material.
I wondered how you got your knots to be so big.
Yeah. So the knot, yeah, Brody was just saying that I make big knots. So that is true.
Checking out your knots. Checking out your burned ends.
So yeah, so how I make the knot so big is I push it down like this. I kind of get it all frizzled out, and
that's 3 times as much frizzing as I would do.
so that's about like what I like to do. And you take the Bic, another best friend of the DIY archery shop, and then I kind of just rotate this through the flame. I don't like to burn the crap out of it. I don't know, to me, just things that are burnt or brittle. Good. I pinch it there and kind of flatten it against the razor blade. Finished knot. Flip it over, do the same thing on this other side.
I've never heard about doing that. About splitting it like that and then burning it and making it that big, and everybody fuzzes it up a little bit and then just burns it on the string, and it makes it like a little, it's a little, mine are sketchy.
You kind of think, is that gonna hold? And 99 out of 100 times it will.
Yeah, I tied Chris Denham's D-loop on his last bow, and I was a little nervous. If he pulls that thing back and it hits him in the mouth, it might not be good for my job.
Yeah, you might. Anyway, so yeah, then we. Like I said, this is a preset length. A lot of trial and error. I just know how I like to make my knots. There's apparently more oxygen in Phoenix than Salt Lake, because that wanted to burn on me a little quicker. Elevation difference, what 3,000 feet probably. Okay, so there's our D loop. So we're coming over here. If you recall, we put these silver Sharpie marks on where we wanted that D loop to initially be installed. So the D loop, I like to hit the double half hitch, I think is what you call it. I like to remember the top knot, or the top burned end, is in towards the riser, is how I do it. So this knot, when I finish the double half hitches, like that, you can see that this knot, this burned end is in towards the riser. I'm still this has always worked for me, so I don't do anything different. This bottom knot is going to be the opposite, so this burned end is going to face out towards me, so out away from the riser. Before I do that, I'm going to cinch it down with a pair of, can you hand me the Easton pliers? These things are awesome. These are the Easton, don't know exactly what they're called, but they're like their multi-use plier. I've used these things for years. They allow you to separate the D loop with this. And then the other cool feature about these pliers right here, they're intended to grab the D loop, and then you're intended to roll and hook that around this little nose, and you can pull. Pretty nice feature. Don't have to get that super tight, just tight enough. And we'll do the knot on the other side.
And those don't collapse all the way onto your string, it looks like. Crush it.
Yeah, correct. So as I mentioned before, right now at this phase, I don't tie any knock sets, but we will before we get this thing fine-tuned. This is just to get relative close on the D loop, and then we're going to shoot through paper. Brody told me that he likes a normal to maybe a touch short D loop. So I kind of catered that, just based off of experience, I catered the string or the D loop material to what I thought he'd like. So that's the finished D loop. Is that about it?
Yeah, that looks perfect. That looks right about what I normally shoot.